Hi guys and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is of course Cameron and welcome back today to another video. It is Thursday. I hope you all are doing really well. Rafa Benitez has sat down and spoken to Everton FC.com about Everton's new signings Vitaly Mykolenko and Nathan Patterson. He's also spoken about the season so far, the problems that Everton have had, the way in which Everton play, or certainly he believes Everton play, and just sat down and given us an update on what's going on at the football club at the moment. He done around about a 15 minute sit down interview with EvertonFC.com, and it was translated into words for the website as well. And we are going to take a little look at it today. We're going to read through some of the things that Rafa Benitez has said, give our thoughts, give our opinions on them as well. But before we go into doing that, I just want to say this is a improvement for Everton Football Club. I think Wolves done something like this yesterday with their director of football or their sporting director or whatever it was, and they sat down and they just basically had a chat with him about the signings, about what to expect in this transfer window, what to expect, for the season as a whole. And I tweeted out, and I've been quite vocal in talking about this as to why Everton don't seem to do this. We never did it with Marcel Brands whilst he was at the football club. He was at the football club for 3.5-4 years, and other than AGMs and talking to angry fans of football matches, he never really sat down and spoke to us about the plan for the future and the signings that we're going to make and the players that we're bringing in and why we're bringing in those types of players. He never did any of that. And we heard specifically Aston Villa chief executive in the summer sat down and spoke about Jack Grealish going to Manchester City, and he specifically made a point of sitting down and doing a video, about a 10-minute video talking about the decision to sell Jack Grealish, how it come about, what Jack Grealish's feelings were in the situation, and he spoke about the three players that they were bringing in to replace Jack Grealish and to replace the qualities that ultimately he had left. And I remember watching and thinking, why can't Everton do any of that? Why is the communication from this football club so bad that the manager or the director of football or a member of the board can't even sit down and talk to us as fans, sit down and address us as a fan base, address us as supporters about what's going on at the football club at the moment, why certain decisions are being made, which players are coming in to replace which players, what's going on the pitch. We never seem to get any of that from Everton Football Club. So firstly, I want to say this is a step up, this is an improvement from Everton to sit down ultimately with Rafa Benitez and ask him, questions about what's going on at the moment, about the new signings, about the direction of the football club. This is something that Everton typically don't do. So, credit where credit's due, and I'm a big believer in giving credit where it's due as well. I've sat down and give the club credit over the last couple of days for how quick we've acted on bringing in, Vitaly Mykolenko and Nathan Patterson. We're only on the 6th of January and we've already made 2 January signings. That is unheard of for Everton Football Club, really, and I think it's important to credit the football club in this sense as well, because this is something that we as a fan base, certainly myself, have been screaming for the football club to do for the last however many years. Sit down and talk to us, address us as fans, because it's not going well on the pitch at the moment. It's not going well for Rafael Benitez, and although some people mightn't agree with what Rafa Benitez is saying, although some people mightn't like what he's saying, although some people might think that what he's saying is utter nonsense, at least he's sat down and spoken to us. At least that silence is broken. It's not just like the club are turning the back and ignoring what's going on at the moment, because what's going on ultimately is nowhere near good enough, is it? So Rafa Benitez started by talking about his teams, and obviously he was speaking about acting quickly in the January transfer window, but he talked about the start of the season and what to expect from Everton's side. He said, if you analyse my teams, they are aggressive, they go on the front foot and press and try to regain the ball high up the pitch, create chances and score goals, and at the same time keeping the balance between attack and defence is key to winning something, not just games, but winning trophies. That is the style that I want to install here. Bringing in these two young players with energy, they can go forward and attack, is the key for the future of the club. I hope they can give us fresh legs and faces to improve the competition in the squad. And thinking about the future, I like to see Everton growing and improving the winning mentality, not just being in a comfortable position where people are more relaxed. Well, one thing I would say to Rafa Benitez on that last sentence is I don't think Everton are in a comfortable position, and I don't think there's many Evertonians and Everton fans around the world that are relaxed at the minute. We're currently sitting, 15th, 16th in the Premier League, dangerously close to the relegation zone in January. Now, if that is indicating that there's certain people within the club that are relaxed with the situation that Everton are in at the moment, then I would be extremely worried, because there's nobody employed by Everton Football Club that should be sat there now thinking we're in a good place here, this is a good position, we can relax where we are, because it's not. It's an absolute disaster, if we're being perfectly honest. But I want to bring the attention to the first paragraph of that statement there. If you analyse my teams, they are aggressive, they go on the front foot and press and try to regain the ball high up the pitch, create chances and score goals. Now, I tweeted this out as a quote just because I was going through the interview and I felt that a lot of people mightn't have had the time to click on the interview or understood that it was an interview, so I thought I'd just take some of the quotes and tweet them out myself. And this one specifically has got something like 160 quote retweets as of recording this video, and the majority of those quote retweets on Twitter are people saying, hang on, this isn't your Everton team. We don't press high on the front foot. We don't score goals. We're not aggressive. We don't try and regain the ball high up the pitch. We don't create many chances. I don't really know what team you're talking about, Rafa, but it's certainly not this Everton side. And there was a lot of Blues that were questioning the manager. And as I said, it's a good thing that we've got this interview, because even though you mightn't agree with what the manager is saying, or even though you mightn't, you might laugh at the things that are coming out of his mouth, at least he's sat down and he's had this interview. But you do have to look at a statement like that and almost think, are Everton aggressive? I don't think we are. I think we're one of the tamest sides in the Premier League. I think we're far too easy to walk over. Do we win the ball high up the pitch? No. We very rarely win the ball anywhere on the pitch, certainly not high up the pitch. Do we create a plethora of opportunities and score a plethora of goals? Not really. So that, for me, doesn't really make sense when talking about Everton. That's not the Everton that we've watched over the last 4 or 5 months or so. That might be a Rafa Benitez side from 10 or 15 years ago. That might be a Rafa Benitez side, that he can recall prior to joining Everton. But that certainly isn't this Everton side. And I don't really know what the point in Rafa Benitez saying that was. Is that to try and make fans think that that's the way Everton play, try and almost make us sit back and go, actually, yeah, we are aggressive, we do win the ball back high up the pitch, we do attack on the front foot, because that's just not the case whatsoever. That's absolute nonsense. So coming out and saying something like that was always going to spark a reaction. And as I said, when I put the quotes on Twitter, I didn't quite expect that many Evertonians to jump on it and basically say this is a load of nonsense, and rightly so, and fair enough. That isn't the Everton side that we've watched recently. 15th in the Premier League, won 1 game since September. We've got a crucial game in the FA Cup coming up on Saturday. Lost again to Brighton in a game in which Brighton were the team that were pressing high up the pitch. They were the team winning the ball back high up the pitch. They were the team on the front foot. We were the complete opposite. We're almost the complete opposite of everything that the manager has said there, which is a little bit baffling. However, he does talk about bringing the young players in and them, new faces, and bringing that energy and, instilling the style of keeping the balance between defence and attack, which is important, of course. As I said earlier on in the week when we spoke about Mikalenko and Patterson signing, it's important that both of those players understand that whilst the modern day fullback is naturally a lot more attacking than what a classic fullback used to be, they also have to be able to focus on their defensive duties, and they also have to understand that first and foremost the defenders over attackers. Benitez did go on and say the big issue is to create a winning mentality that will allow you to compete in the future. That is young players coming in, hungry players who want to be here and fight and give everything on the pitch. He said Nathan and Vitali have the characteristics we are looking for, players who like to go forward and provide crosses to the players up front. I don't want to put them under pressure because they are young and need to know the Premier League, but these players are the future of the club for sure. He said that Everton could do further business in January. He said this is a difficult window, but we saw we can do things and hopefully can continue looking for the best possible options for us. The idea is to bring new faces and increase the competition between players. And once again, Everton have highlighted the comments of Nathan and Vitali are young players, hungry, who want to be here and fight and give everything on the pitch. Now that is obviously a very, very positive comment about the two young lads. I can't help but feel like it might be a little bit of a dig towards maybe some other players at the football club, but you know what? if there's players currently at this football club being paid a ridiculous amount of money who the manager doesn't feel are giving everything on the pitch, and the manager doesn't feel are working as hard as they can do and getting their head down and battling and fighting for the club, then call them out. I'd have preferred for him to come out and say, like X, Y, and Z, who don't give everything for the club, to be honest with you. You know, again, it's clearly, you know, the transfer policy at the moment is very much bringing through young players, which is you know, we can't complain. This is something that we've complained about Everton not doing for a long time. You know, we've complained about Everton going out in transfer windows and bringing in, you know, 28, 29, 30-year-olds who are just there for their final paycheck and not really asked about the football club. So it's good that the manager has now, you know, addressed that we need to go out and bring younger players in. We need to go out and bring players in that do want to be here, do care about the football club, are wanting to improve themselves, are wanting to prove that they're good enough to play in the Premier League. Now, as I said, that would be a perfect quote, and I'd be sitting here saying, boss, amazing, absolutely fantastic work, Rafa, if we weren't 15th in the Premier League table and hadn't won only one game since September. But as I said, in all fairness to the manager, that's what we want to see as fans. We want to see players that are working hard. We want to see players that want to be here. We want to see players that'll get their head down, that'll battle, that'll fight, that'll, you know, give everything that they can for this football club. And let's hope that both Vitaly Mykolenko and Nathan Patterson will do that. I firmly believe they will do that. But let's hope that they're also good enough to be able to do that at a good enough level. You know, it's all well and good players turning up on a Saturday and Sunday and giving it 110%. If they're not very good at footy, then we're still not going to win games, are we? I mean, to be fair, the majority of the current Everton team aren't very good at footy and don't even bother turning up and giving it 100%. So it'll be an improvement. But, you know, let's hope that, you know, Mykolenko and Patterson are both good enough to not only step in and give everything, but step in and do a fantastic job as well. Because it's clear that what the manager is looking for is players that, you know, will fight and give everything on the pitch. As he says, these are young players coming in, hungry players who want to be fight and give everything on the pitch. He also says, have the characteristics we are looking for, players who like to go forward and provide crosses to the players up front. Little bit ironic considering the current sort of story that's out there at the moment regarding Luca Dean, is that Luca Dean wasn't happy with the manager's tactics and he wasn't happy with the fact that he was having to stay back and wasn't allowed to get forward and create chances. So to have fallen out with one player for one reason and then bring in two players for the same reason doesn't really make sense, but that's what leads me to think that there's maybe something else going on with the Luca Dean situation. It's not as simple as, you know, Luca Dean wanted to, you know, be a more of a forward-thinking player and Rafa Benitez wouldn't allow him to, because otherwise these comments wouldn't make much sense. But then again, coming out and saying, you know, this Everton team, you know, attacks the ball and wins the ball high up at the pitch and is always on the front foot, that doesn't make much sense either. But really, really good comments about the new signings, of course. The manager went on to admit that he is not happy with the situation in the table. Everton currently sit 15th in the Premier League. He said, we have to take responsibility and accept sometimes we are making mistakes and have to improve things, not just the players, me too. I don't want to make excuses, but the reality is we have had some injuries. Players who were crucial last year for us have been out, but I am quite positive with how I can see the future. We have to find solutions to the short-term problems, and I am sure that we will be much better in the future because we, myself and the coaching staff, know how to improve teams and instill a winning mentality. He also said we are trying to do in the transfer market what we knew we needed to do. Firstly, bring wingers in to provide crosses for Dominic. When you have a striker of his talent and quality, everybody was expecting wingers, so we brought those to provide ammunition for him to score goals, talking about Damari Gray and Andros Townsend in the summer. Then we have signed fullbacks who can overlap, make passes and crosses. It is a question of time. Little by little, we have to impose these things that will make the team stronger and better. So again, coming out openly there and talking about the, you know, wanting the young fullbacks to get forward, wanting the young fullbacks to create chances, wanting them to burst in the box and help out in creating for Dominic Calvert-Lewin, which is really interesting when you think a lot of the rumours surrounding Luca Dean are because, you know, Rafa Benitez wouldn't allow him to get forward and wouldn't allow him to create chances. Sort of nulls that argument, but maybe that still is the case, and maybe, you know, again, maybe the manager is just saying this because that's what people want to hear. But I think it's also really, really interesting that Rafa Benitez has taken responsibility here. You know, again, Everton have won one game since September, and I know I keep saying it, and I know I keep reminding people, and I know people don't need reminding, but I'm going to keep reminding people because that's the grim and harsh reality of this football club at the moment. And the manager has come out in countless amounts of post-game interviews and post-game discussions, and, you know, he's avoided blaming himself a lot of times. He's avoided saying that was my fault, I made the bad decision. It's always the players worked their hardest and they battled, and the fans can see that the commitment's here, and we were unlucky, or we made this mistake, we made that mistake. This is the first time that I can recall since joining the football club that Rafa Benitez has actually taken some responsibility. This is the first time that Rafa Benitez has actually sat down and said, no, I was at fault for that. That was my, you know, I've done things wrong, which he has, by the way. Don't get me wrong. There's various problems at this football club that run deeper than Rafa Benitez. We've spoken about the board before. We're not going to speak about the board today, but we've spoken about the board on a number of occasions. You know, we've spoken about the players and the fact that a lot of players at the club at the moment just aren't anywhere near good enough and shouldn't be anywhere near this Everton side. But the manager also has to take responsibility. At the end of the day, the manager has made some dreadful tactical decisions. He's made some woeful substitutions, and he is at fault for a lot of the defeats that Everton have suffered over the last couple of weeks and months or so. Whether you like Rafa Benitez or not, whether you believe he's been unlucky, whether you believe he should be here, whether you believe he should have been sacked, he has been at fault for a lot of the defeats that Everton have suffered over the last couple of weeks and months or so. And this is the first time that he seemingly has taken responsibility for it. Now, whether that's because it's in an interview unrelated to a specific game, i.e. we haven't just lost the game and he's come out and said, yeah, that was my fault, that I done wrong. It's a completely unrelated interview surrounding the general sort of situation at the club at the moment. Maybe that's the reason as to why he's taking the blame, because he's thought this will be easy, I'll say, oh yeah, I've got to take blame too, and I don't really have to believe it. Or whether he genuinely believes that he is at fault for some of the downfall of the football club over the last couple of months or so. And I should hope that it is the latter, because he absolutely is at fault for some of the downfall of what's going on at the football club over the last couple of months or so. Again, as I said, some of his tactical decisions have been dreadful. Some of his substitutions have been dreadful. Some of his team selections have been dreadful. The decision to continuously play a two in midfield when this league cries out for a three-man midfield baffles me. So I suppose it's a positive, if you like. I suppose it's it's a little bit of a breath of fresh air to hear the manager actually coming out and saying that, you know, he is at fault and that he has to take responsibility. Listen, a lot of Evertonians will be watching this video who are of the idea and of the opinion that Rafa Benitez shouldn't be the manager of Everton Football Club. And if I'm being perfectly honest, I am of that opinion as well. I don't see how any Premier League manager goes, 3-4 months winning only one game and keeps his job. But as I said before today, he hadn't come out and taken any responsibility. He hadn't come out and taken any blame, and now he has. Albeit he's still talking about injuries. He's still referring to the fact that injuries have, hindered us and been a big reason as to why we haven't been able to kick on. And whilst I understand it, having Dominic Calvert-Lewin out for 4 or 5 months was never, going to be easy. Having Richarlison out for a sustained period of time, Jordan Pickford at the start of the season, Abdoulaye Doucouré, I get it. I get that isn't ideal, and I get that, Everton having all of these injuries obviously does, have its part to play in some of the performances and some of the results, but ultimately, I'm beyond blaming injuries at the moment. We've lost so many games where we've had more than a strong enough squad to go out and win, and the manager's come out and said, well, yeah, but we've got injuries. Look at the injuries. I mean, what was the excuse for Brighton? We had the front three there, 2 of whom would start if everybody was fit, in Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Damari Gray. The other, Anthony Gordon, was the best player on the pitch. So what's your excuse for us not creating enough chances against Brighton, or what's the excuse for Dominic Calvert-Lewin not being in the side? Yes, you could say defensively, well, Yerry Mina's not there, and that's fine, but also, you played the 5 at the back when you had Luca Dean on the bench, who is fit and could have played. I know there's a situation going on there, and the club mightn't want to jeopardise his transfer, whatever, but he's fit. It's nothing to do with injury. So, I'm a bit bored of hearing the injury stuff. I'm a little bit bored of hearing those excuses, and I know the manager said he doesn't want to make excuses, but ultimately, continuously bringing up injuries and saying, well, we've been shit because of injuries, basically, isn't good enough, really. It's because that's not the case. That's not the case whatsoever. But he does say we need to take responsibility, including himself, which is a first. And he says he believes that the second half of the season will be much better than the first half, which I would hope, because it can't be much worse than the first half of the season, can it? Does talk about wanting to further improve the squad. We spoke earlier on today on the live stream about Sean Longstaff and Everton potentially wanting to bring him into the football club, as well as a couple of other players we've been linked with. As I said, credit where credit's due, and you have to give credit to the club where credit's due. We've acted very, very quickly so far in January. We've brought in a replacement for Luca Dean before Luca Dean's even left the football club, which is absolutely unheard of for Everton, so fair play to the club for doing that. We've brought in a replacement for Seamus Coleman, which is something that we've been trying to do for the last 4 years, but we've done it early on in this window. We acted really quick with the Nathan Patterson deal, really, really impressed with that, so let's hope we can go out and bring in a couple of other players in the right areas and do that again before the end of the transfer window, because I still think we need a centre midfielder of a Abdoulaye Doucouré style, sort of, physical, athletic, can get about the pitch and can then give Abdoulaye Doucouré that freedom to move further up. I still think we probably need another centre defender as well, centre back. So a lot of work still to be done, and Benitez feels that we can still do business in the window, which is good. The manager then went on to say, he was talking about Dominic Calvert-Lewin. He said, I think Dom is a crucial player for us. Obviously, we are talking about the top scorer of the last year and a player that is growing in terms of experience and confidence. When you talk with him, you can see he wants to take responsibility. I think his contribution against Brighton was fine. I watched clips of the game. He had a couple of situations that he could score goals. Not really sure what they were, other than the penalty. I'm not really sure what are any other chances that Dom had that he should have scored in. He was very close. Talking about his performance, is what you were expecting from him. When you make crosses, he will be at the end of them or holding the ball, linking with the teammates. If he stays fit, he could make a big difference for us. And it's not just what he can do on the pitch. When you talk to him, you can see he is more mature and wants to do well. That is the type of player we are looking for. He was then asked about Richarlison and Richarlison's calf injury, and he admitted that he is looking forward to being able to field both Richarlison and Dominic Calvert-Lewin in the same Everton team. He said any team that loses their two top scorers will be suffering. We had that plus other issues in the first part of the league. To have the top scorers on the pitch and everybody pushing with competition between players is the best way to have this winning mentality. This approach will allow you to compete for something in the future, not just improve one or two positions in the league. We don't want to be one or two places better. We want to be a lot of positions better and then compete for something. So again, all of the typical sort of stuff you would expect to hear from the manager. I'm happy that he's come out and said we don't want to just be one or two positions better, because we don't, because we're sitting 15th, so finishing 12th in the league isn't an improvement whatsoever. And as I said, he's right to an extent. Having Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison both fit and fit for a sustained period of time in this Everton team will undoubtedly, make us a better side, because they're two of our best players, they're two of our top goal scorers, and they're our two best attacking forward. So having them both fit and in the same Everton team will undoubtedly improve Everton. Doesn't solve the fact that defensively we're a shambles and we can't stop conceding stupid goals and stupid set pieces, but the manager's right. When Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison are both back, fully fit, firing, we'll be in a better situation. We'll be more likely to score goals. Richarlison's work rate has been massively missed and is infectious. Dom's ability in front of goal is fantastic as well. But ultimately, we've got to be able to play to the strengths of these players. Dominic Calvert-Lewin played 90 minutes against Brighton, and I know the manager said he's had a couple of chances there. Other than the penalty, I can't remember another top chance that Dominic Calvert-Lewin had to convert against Brighton. A lot of our game plan was just lump the ball up to Dominic Calvert-Lewin and hope that he could do something, and that isn't making the most of Dominic Calvert-Lewin. That isn't getting the best out of Dominic Calvert-Lewin. We've seen it with Richarlison a number of times this season. Lump the ball up and hope that he can take it down, take on 43 players and score a winner. That's not getting the best out of Richarlison. So I get where the manager's coming from in saying we need both of these players back. We do, and we need them back firing in the same team, but we've got to play to their strengths, and tactically, the manager's got to take responsibility on how to get the best out of them, because I think individually, when we've seen Dom this season, albeit, we've only seen him a couple of times, which is fine, and when we've seen, specifically when we've seen Richarlison this season, we haven't got the best out of him. We haven't seen the best out of him as well, and the manager has got to sort that out. Ultimately, the manager's got to be able to field a side that can get the best out of both of those players. and tactically, put the tactics in place that can get the best out of both of those players as well. So there you go. That is Rafa Benitez's interview. Let us know your thoughts on it in the comment section down below. As I said, massive plus that the managers sat down and had this discussion, because it's needed, and it has been needed for a long time, and it's something that the club haven't notoriously done over the years. So fair play to Everton for sorting this out, and fair play to Rafa Benitez for sitting down. Even though we mightn't agree with everything that he's got to say, or we mightn't like everything that he's got to say, at least, we can feel as a fan base that the club in some capacity have sat down and spoken to us about what's going on, and what the future holds, which is a positive as well. Certainly the near future in regards to this transfer window, and this proves that there's no excuse that the club shouldn't be doing this every quarter or every third in the year to let us know what's going on. I expect another video from the manager after the January transfer window to talk about any other signings that we bring in and what they're going to bring to this side. Ultimately, the Longstaff situation's a perfect example. If you're going to bring in Sean Longstaff, sit down and tell us what he brings, what he offers us, and maybe fans will be a little bit more confident about it if we do that. But there you go. That is Rafa Benitez's interview. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Did you listen to it or read it and think, yeah, that's good enough? Did you read it and laugh and think he hasn't got a clue what he's talking about? Did you not even bother reading it whatsoever? Let us know in the comment section down below. If you have enjoyed this one, please do hit that like button. We did do a live stream earlier on today talking about the latest Everton transfer news and rumours, so if you want to check that out, please do so. We speak about Luca Dean, we talked about Yerry Mina, we talked about Philippe Coutinho, we talked about loads of different players, so go and check that out if you haven't already. But in the meantime, if you've enjoyed this one, please leave a like. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new as well. Thank you all very much for watching, and we'll see you soon on the Mighty Blues. Cheers for watching. See you after.